Staying connected matters. That's why AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they'll proactively make it right. That's the AT&T Guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
GuoGu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dan.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So you and our senior producer, the brilliant Marissa Schneiderman, came up with an outline for this conversation. I told Marissa, and this is actually kind of a fun position to be in, I didn't fully understand the pedagogical flow, but maybe that's just an opportunity for me to learn. And so one of the major concepts you wanted to discuss was embodied experiencing. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's actually a response to what I'm witnessing among my students and what's being taught around. When we hear teachings and we have so much availability of resources to tap into, people generally hear it, see it, read it, and they process it in their head. That's the default. And the default mode of learning the teachings or whatever is to think about it. And that really prevents the teaching to do its kind of maximized effect. And most people are so much in their head that they're disembodied. So I began to focus on embodied experiencing. So to be more in tune with the body so that one would ultimately be more in tune with the undercurrent feeling tone that actually shapes our experiences. Most people are not able to kind of tap into this undercurrent feeling tone. In order to be in the body, I teach a kind of progressive relaxation and training my students throughout the day to have specific moments, time to tune in to the body and ground oneself. And all this is just to avoid the process of our discursive thinking to hijack all of our other sense abilities. Like we have name, label for everything that we're seeing. And this filter is pretty much constant in most people. So it's just a kind of reaction, response to what I'm seeing out there and among practitioners being the body, to actually use other sense faculties, sense organs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Let me see if I can restate it as evidence that it makes sense to me. We are stuck in our heads in the world of language and concepts, and that can divorce us from moment to moment experience of reality as it unfolds. And so one way to get out of your head is embodied experience, to get in touch with what's happening in your body, which is always in the present moment.
Yeah, what's always in the body. That's the biggest, to say, sense organ. It's an anchor as a grounding. And then we can start using other sense faculties, hearing, like deep listening, without adding containers and label to whoever's talking. Or we can see, or we can feel, touch. What I'm really trying to do is get people to slowly not be so hijacked by their own categories and notions and ideas, to be more in tune with the body.
I had this experience recently. I got back about a week and a half ago from a meditation retreat, a 10-day meditation retreat, and I was studying with Joseph Goldstein, who's a great meditation teacher, and he gave me this very humbling piece of advice that I think rhymes with what you're saying, which was when you're in the dining hall, in the dining room, where you're with a bunch of other people, try to be mindful of seeing. And I did that, or I attempted to do it, and I just noticed how quickly I was seeing somebody and launching off into compartmentalizing them into, oh, what's their income? What do they do for a living? What are their political views? Do they have a ultimate frisbee bumper sticker on the back of their Subaru? Like I was just off in these judgments of people so quickly. And even when I woke up and went back to just noting the raw data of my visual senses, man, the ego or discursive mind is so slippery and so sophisticated in its ability to just suck you back into your. Why is this person taking so long at the salad bar? And really, they're going to slice the bread that thin, and on and on.
Yeah, we actually teach many different methods. Direct contemplation, it's called a general name, aside from embodied experiencing of seeing, hearing. So we usually teach seeing and hearing because these are the two most prominent ways that vexations, afflictions, judgment, containers are stirred up, by what we see and what we hear. So it actually takes an active and a proactive training of these other senses to actually slow down or kind of bracket the monologue that's kind of running. Yeah.
I want to get to the practices soon, but before we do anything constructive, let's stay in the problem. Let's marinate in the vexations.
Okay.
You and Marissa, as I look down at this outline that you guys, I think, collaboratively prepared for me, there's this sentence here that the problem is that the nature of words and language is to discriminate, bifurcate, compartmentalize, put things in containers. That's true, but I wonder also, aren't words and isn't our inner dialogue useful to some extent?
Yeah, it's very useful. Words and language are not really the problem, but it's the ways in which we are dictated, shaped in our whole well-being. The sense of well-being is actually shaped by the habitual ways we are conditioned by words and language. So words and language themselves, they can be very productive. Sometimes we need to put a label to things, what we experience, in order to work through it. The point is, we have to expose the ways in which we tend to label things, the categories we tend to use. So this is a direct window into how within us manifestations of vexations, afflictions arise. So everyone's different. So that process of exposing and then embracing it, we have to accept because there's a history to why we see things certain ways. And then we can work through, and then we can let go. Does that make sense? So exposing, embracing, transforming, and letting go. Because, our perception shapes our experience, the degree of our suffering, like the Buddha taught, suffering, cause of suffering. It's actually shaped by perception. So what's the constituents of perception? Words and language. But words and language are very useful. As you know, being a journalist. So when we expose some habit tendencies of seeing things, we have to use words and language to rephrase them. Ancient India, thousands of years ago, and just the general milieu in the different spiritual traditions, they tend to express truth, reality in apophatic terms. Not this, not that. It's inconceivable. Things are impermanent. There's no self. But that's the ancient way. So when we rephrase our tendency to see things, impermanence, for example, we could rephrase it as new beginnings, dependent origination. So I'm sure you're very familiar with. What it really is talking about is relationships, connections. So words do matter, and whether it's apophatic or cataphatic in a positive way, framing things, carries with them certain feeling tones. And these undercurrent feeling tones actually subtly, even subconsciously, shape our experience.
I just want to underline this for a second because I don't want to let this slip by. You're using this very specific language, which I think comes out of theology, apophatic and cataphatic. Apophatic is understanding reality through negativity. In Buddhism, like even nibbana or nirvana is a kind of extinguishing or a blowing out. Cataphatic is understanding reality positively. So it actually, you can describe the same thing with different words.
Yeah. So compassion, for example, in the East Asian tradition, specifically Chan Zen tradition, compassion is understood as actually the function of wisdom. It's not just ordinary wisdom, it's actually selfless wisdom. No self-referential agenda. So compassion would be something of a cataphatic way of expressing things. Or Buddha nature. Buddha nature is basically the nature of emptiness, but it's just shining a light on the function of selflessness actually manifests, interact with the world.
I just want to jump in and explain some of those terms, and please, I'm gonna try to explain some of those terms to listeners who may be newer to the Dharma. And when I inevitably make a error, I would like you please to correct me. the most important thing here is that we give good information, not that I be seen as omniscient. In the Dharma, in Buddhism, and in other spiritual traditions, but really in Buddhism, that there's this idea of seeing through the illusion of the self. And the Buddhists, especially in the classical tradition, tend to phrase that in, to use the term you like, apophatic ways. You know, we are empty of self. We're selfless. And what you're saying is, well, once you get out of your own head or see that the self isn't as real as we think it is, you can phrase it in a cataphatic way, which is compassion, which is the activity of emptiness. Once you turn down the volume on your ego and you're not so ensorcelled by your discursive thoughts, you have more room to pay attention to other people's stuff.
Excellent.
Well, yeah. You know me well. I'm always looking for the gold star.
And you wanna take a shot at Buddha nature, another technical term?
Okay, so Buddha, I mostly know Theravada, which is the oldest school of Buddhism, and Buddha nature doesn't really show up there much, but it's essentially the argument that we are inherently good. The analogy that's often used is like a golden Buddha statue encased in mud, and the world and our habit energies and the karma from pre-existing lives or past lives, if you believe in that kind of thing, encase our inner Buddha nature, our inner golden Buddha in this sediment. And the practice is about clearing away and bringing forth the benevolence that can shine forth from beneath the karmic residue. How am I doing?
Good. Gold star. Yeah, these are all languages. So, phatic, cataphatic, we shouldn't get too stuck on them. And the process is exposing the ways in which we tend to frame things. Like there are all kinds of ways. Like some people are kind of fighter type. Some people are self-defeatist. So maybe they always blame other people. Or they feel, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I don't have the skill set. So exposing that, and understanding that they have a history, embracing that, then we can work with it. So words and language, getting back to your original question, the words and language is not bad. It's the habit force that manifests that we have to expose and transform. Because once we expose, embrace, and the work, it's actually transforming. Then we can be free from that.
Is what you're saying, at least partially, that if we can learn, and you will teach us soon, how to get into the habit of embodied experiencing throughout the day, breaking up this hitherto nonstop stream of discursive thinking, if we can get into that habit of, having this regular circuit breakers on the nonstop thinking, that we can create newer, more positive, more cataphatic ways of talking to ourselves and thinking about the world that can create a virtuous cycle?
Yes, including talking to ourselves, but also just experiencing new possibilities, experiencing new ways. So the more rigid our containers are, meaning the more rigid we can identify with that which we've always known, the words and language and so on. So much trust in that. The more we allow them to be more porous, then could be not. Maybe not. Exposing that, then new possibilities are able to. There are practices, and we have to work on them. Practices that we can do and to facilitate that. We'll be 10% happier if we do.
Yes. And I always say that the 10% compounds annually. But I do want to do my little restatement thing to you again, because I think this point you're making, I want to make sure people get it. First of all, I want to make sure I get it. And then I, by extension, want to make sure everybody else gets it. If we are not so stuck in our heads, we are injecting into our days these moments of dropping into our bodies and really experiencing the raw data of our sensations. Not only might we, not be so stuck in our heads, and we start to learn to not take our ancient neurotic thought patterns so personally or seriously. I sometimes talk about the co-arising of visibility and risibility, which is a fancy word for laughability. It's like as soon as you start to see with some mindfulness, the types of thoughts you've had your whole life, they become ridiculous and in a nice way. And I think with the last point you were making, which is what I'm building to in my clumsy cultish way here, is that we develop a kind of intellectual humility, what in the Zen tradition might be called beginner's mind, where we're less certain in a very helpful way. So is that the point you were trying to make?
Yes, less certain would be something like apathetic. So not only less certain, but also positively more engaging, like allowing things to flourish. Like, for example, if I have certain idea, if I see someone dressed some way and have some fixed idea, start this monologue, if I allow that chattering to subside and be in the body, it's actually compassionate. So allow that person to be without my container.
Yes.
So you could say it's less certain, like this person could be this way, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Or you could just say it positively, like that person can be the way he or she, the way they are, and it's accepted. Right? So that kind of energy, that kind of wording or perception exudes out through you. And when you actually connect with the person, it's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that person may not even know it. That person may not even know what you're thinking, but they feel they're seen, they're heard, they're accepted. It's very, very subtle. That's what I'm talking about, these undercurrent feeling tone that shapes our reality. So it's not really up here like my reality, only everyone's walking around with their own reality. It actually has an effect on the people around us.
Yeah, there's that. I think it was Maya Angelou that nobody remembers what you say; they remember how you made them feel.
Yeah,
I studied for a while with some Zen teachers who I'm still very close friends with, and there was enormous emphasis on spontaneity.
Mm.
I think about this like when I was a kid, I would notice that there was some age where a child would go from completely spontaneous, every little kids, every reaction was totally authentic. There was no filter that they were running things through. And then at some point, the world sets in on them and they become kind of self-aware in a not helpful way, quite a apophatic way. And then the spontaneity is gone and there's or diminishes. And there's a certain emphasis, to the extent that I understand Zen at all. But I think this is the whole Dharma is shot through with this idea of, as you turn down the volume on your constantly compartmentalizing, judging mind, there's this availability, spontaneity that is kind of like getting yourself back to the best version of childhood. Does this make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, perfect. I would just say that the spontaneity is different than how ordinary people say spontaneity, like no filter, vexation, just spread, contaminate everything. Not that kind, right? We know that. So it's a kind of authenticity and free from greed, hatred, ignorance, what the Buddhists call the three poisons. So absence of that, there's a kind of innocence and this kind of curiosity. That is what I actually call the practice of wonderment, curiosity. Again, our brain is wired to identify, problems, threats, and that's how we survive as a species. It's all good. But sometimes when we feed into that with our habit tendencies of perceiving things in a certain way, and we believe in it so much, then it really just stresses us out. So we really need to cultivate this practice. It's connected totally to embodied experiencing. It would be like the next step. And that is the practice of wonderment, a curiosity, because, the amygdala contacting hippocampus, pituitary gland, send out stress hormones. That whole mechanism can be shifted. So if we experience something, instead of seeing it as threat, we can train ourselves to not know that what is it? How is it? Automatically, our experience shift to another part of the brain, which is problem solving, instead of fight or flight, you see? So that cultivation of innocence, non-judgmental, curiosity, wonderment, that all comes from this diminishment of our identity with these containers, labels, words. And the words that come out, not that we don't have anything to say anymore, the words that come out doesn't come from that place of threat, stress, problem, obstacles. How do I get over this? How do I overcome that? It comes from another place. That, as you cited, the beginner's mind, kind of innocent.
Few things feel better than knowing someone's looking out for you. That is the spirit behind the AT&T Guarantee. Staying connected matters. That's why AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they will proactively make it right. That's the AT&T Guarantee, because connection should be dependable, especially in the moments that matter most. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. AT&T, connecting changes everything. When you want more, start your business with Northwest Registered Agent and get access to thousands of free guides, tools, and legal forms to help you launch and protect your business all in one place. Build your complete business identity with Northwest today. I can tell you, as the proprietor of a small business, that there is so much stuff that I never considered to deal with when you're starting a company. And it's really helpful not only to have a great team around you, which I do, but also to have allies like Northwest. Northwest Registered Agent has been helping small business owners and entrepreneurs launch and grow businesses for nearly 30 years. They're the largest registered agent and LLC service in the U.S. with over 1,500 corporate guides. Those are real people who know your local laws and can help you and your business every step of the way. Build your business identity fast with Northwest Registered Agent and get access to thousands of free resources, forms, and step-by-step guides without even creating an account. If you do want to create an account, you can do so for free to begin managing your business hub with lawyer-drafted operating agreements, bylaws, resolutions, membership certificates, bills of sale, and more, all at no cost. These are the kinds of things that most entrepreneurs are not thinking about when they get that first entrepreneurial spark, which is why it's so helpful to have a solid ally. Also, just to say, with Northwest, privacy is automatic. They never sell your data, and all services are handled in-house because privacy by default is their pledge to all customers. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and get your complete business identity in just 10 clicks and 10 minutes. Visit www.northwestregisteredagent.com/happierfree and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at northwestregisteredagent.com/happierfree.
So just to pick up on your word of cultivation, or as you said before, practice, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You've mentioned progressive relaxation techniques. Can you sort of walk us through it?
So, like anything else, if you want to learn to play, ping pong or tennis or something, we first have to maybe practice it against the wall, and then with a live person. And then the more skilled the other person is, you actually learn faster, right? Similarly, we have to start with seated meditation. Yeah, not too much stimuli. We're kind of grounded. So we begin with seated meditation. And after this, I'll talk about daily life. So seated meditation, we have to always build a good foundation. And that foundation is a kind of priming, like priming a canvas. You have to kind of put a primer on it. Then you can paint it. So the priming first, the body, and then tapping to the undercurrent feeling tone, dial it in to a particular feeling tone, and then use the method, whether it's meditation on breath, loving kindness, or any other method. So progressive relaxation is a way to relax the body and actually feel grounded. So we start with top of the head and trickling down the forehead and landing at the space between the eyebrows. The number one most difficult part to relax in the body. So in order to relax this part, unlike other parts, we have to tense it up and then release. So we raise the eyebrows up and then release. Do that a few times so you feel the tactile sensation of that sense of release. And then allow that sense of release to the eyelids, like tiny muscles around the eye sockets, and then the eyeballs. The eyeballs is very important. We treat the eyeballs like muscles. So we're not using the sense faculty of the eyes. Right now, we're just amplifying the sense faculty of the body. So as you know, Buddhists talk about 5 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. And then they add on mind as a sense faculty. So we're not using eyes, ear, nose, tongue. We're using the sense faculty of the body. So when we relax the eyes, the default is to start using your eyes. If you see darkness, if you see kind of sparkling lights, that means you're using your eyes. So you have to actually see if you can feel through the sense faculty of the body, tactile sensation of the contours of the eyeballs resting, even the very soft sense of weight of resting the eye socket. This will automatically start to amplify and heighten our ability to tactile sensations. So relaxing the eyes without using the eyes is very difficult, but we can train to do that. Once we do that, allow the sense faculty to flow down the planes of the cheeks, and then follow the jawline from below the ears to the chin, and then tuck in the chin a little bit, like in meditation posture, and then go to the lips. And for the lips, we can wet our lips if we want, but what we want to do is a gentle smile. Just by that muscle memory, gentle smile, you would have, if you're sensitive enough, you would have sensed a subtle shift in your feeling tone. It's all good. And that will actually relax the facial muscles even more. After the face is done, we go to the scalp. So relaxing the scalp, the front all the way to the back, opening all the pores. See if you can actually feel the coolness of the air. Now, my head is shaved, but maybe for people with hair, they can't feel this, but they could see if you can feel, for example, there, see if you can feel the weight of your hair. And seep back to the back of the cranium. Amplifying sense faculty of the body. Then flow down the neck. And with the neck, we rotate the neck. Both directions, rotate. Now we begin to zero in on the skin, muscles, and tendons, especially when you stretch. Feel the tendons. All the fibers relaxing. And then we arrive at the second most difficult area. The first is the space between the eyebrows. Second, so that a lot of people hold a lot of tension here. And just by tense posture, it causes an injury in the shoulder. It's like rubber band. If you're used to tensing up and then it relaxes, the rubber band doesn't know how to relax. You relax, it feels like it's stretching. It feels painful. That's because most of the time the shoulders are like this. So the rubber band loses its elasticity by typing, working on a computer. So this is the second most difficult part. And it's the same way. For these special areas, we want to tense up, inhale, exhale, then drop. Do that a few times and zero in on the embodied experiencing of release, sense of release. You can almost sense the center of gravity, the weight, which usually for people is up here. When it releases, drops down, sink down into the seat. From there, we want to relax the arms, skin, muscles, tendons, biceps, triceps. And then wiggle the elbow a little bit. Make sure the arms are relaxed. Forearm, wrists, palms and fingers. Now, palms and fingers, a lot of nerve endings, a lot of capillaries. So you can actually get a good sense. In the practice of progressive relaxation as a way to prime the body for meditation, I teach my students to put the hands on the lap, not folded yet, right? So they get a good sense of the relax. And then after the arms, we go to the chest. How to relax the chest. See if you can feel the subtle rise and fall of your chest following the rhythm of your breath. So you have to refine your awareness. Now zero in on the exhalations to see how is it affecting. Now you can tell that when you exhale, there's a sense of bodily weight sinking down to the abdomen. See if you can feel that. There's no words, no labels, it's embodied sensations. And then allow it to sink to the abdomen. And now see if you can feel. This is the third most difficult area to relax, the abdomen. See if you can feel the subtle rise and fall of the abdomen following the rhythm of your breath. For people that have difficulty experiencing this, place one of your palms over your tummy. Because there are so many nerve endings in your palm, you can definitely feel the subtle movements. So now you can use your exhalations. Exhale, sink, release. And you sense the movements. And now we go to the back. Upper back, from back to the neck to the shoulder blades, the upper back. And if you're attentive enough, there's actually subtle movements there as well, following the rhythm of your breath. The shoulders. And then move it down. Next exhalation, drop it down to the mid back. Movements there as well. In fact, your whole rib cage is naturally expanding, contracting. This is one of the reasons why when we do seated meditation, even for those who sit on chairs, they should not lean their back of the chair. They can support the lower back, roll a towel over there, but the back should not be pressed against something, preventing the natural flow of natural movement of rise and fall. In next exhalation, drop it down, lower back, right down to the buttocks, the seat. In fact, at this time, we should be able to experience the sense of bodily weight resting the seat. And now at this time, in order to make sure the upper body is completely relaxed without any extra tension anywhere, we can sway the body from left to right. Allow the swaying to come to a stop. Let the body find that center point of gravity. Like one of those Aruma dolls, blow-up doll with sand inside. Just sway into the center and then sink there. Same thing with front and back. In that center test point, allow the swaying to come to a stop. Perfectly, naturally, upright. Bodily weight completely grounded, rooted to earth. At this time, we can place the hands in the meditation posture. Folded, palms up, thumbs gently touching. Upper body, light as a feather. Lower body, rooted, sense of weight, and continuing, relaxing the hips, thighs, and knees. Use your mind to touch those areas. Right? Just to check if there's any tension. Then calves, ankles, and feet. Once the body's primed, now the defense mechanism is dropped. Now we can access the undercurrent feeling tone in this moment. In traditional Buddhist language, don't grasp, don't reject. Apophatic, right? The cataphatic way is, what does that mean actually? Don't grasp and reject. Read a version. It actually means content. Right? So step into that feeling of contentment. What is that like? AAG. It's all good. Right. Yeah. So I kind of just like the body, we have to prime the feeling tone. Spend a few seconds to just soak it in, feeling tone. And then use the method. So once the body's primed, heart content, then we avail ourselves to the meditation object. So that actually shapes the whole experience. The feeling tone is like an undercurrent mood or an attitude. Non-verbal. So that's progressive relaxation. How to enter into meditation.
I didn't know we were going to meditate today, and that was the best part of my day thus far. So that was awesome. Thank you. I have a bunch of technical questions. Are you okay with that?
Sure, please.
I definitely want to talk about feeling tones, but before we get to that, you've used the term feeling tones a lot, and I want to make sure that we all really understand it. This is quite a technical question, but in what are often referred to as body scan meditations, I've never understood, and maybe these are just two distinct styles that can work together, whether you're trying to progressively relax, which can have a bit of greed in it, like you're going for a specific state of relaxation, or whether you're just supposed to be mindful of whatever's happening at each of the body parts as you sweep through.
Being relaxed does not necessitate that being greedy. It's just causes and conditions. I mean, if you want certain things to happen, you have to make sure the ingredients are there, right? So like anything else, if you want to be liberated, you got to do X, Y, and Z. The precepts, meditation, wisdom, the three studies, right? So you can't say, well, I want to be liberated, so that's a kind of greed. That's a kind of conceptual question, right? If you want to be a businessman, you got to make connections, you got to have business skills. It's just the necessary ingredients. So what you don't want to do is to entertain kind of, I want this, I don't want that. It's just taking care of what needs to be done. Does that make sense? Even practically, if you don't go through relaxation and you jump right into the method, basically we're carrying with it the baggage that we bring from the day's work, and it takes so long to actually get calm. If you can get calm, right? If you can get concentrated. So in order for something to happen, different conditions must be present. It's just how things are. So in order to have an effective practice, we must make sure the body is primed, relaxed. Right? Not that we're seeking relaxation. It does several things when we do progressive relaxation. We release tension. We allow the energy flow without coagulating the tension spot. 1, 2, 3. And we actually naturally allow the body to generate serotonin, dopamine, naturally. Just allow the chemicals to do whatever they're supposed to be doing. So we're working with the body, relaxing. Does that make sense? So it's not like, but in daily life, we may be tense and we have to just accept it, being with it. That also works too. But in seated meditation, a lot of people, sometimes they don't sit well. They don't know why. Sometimes they sit well. Sometimes they know it's like haphazard. Actually, it's not haphazard. There are these undercurrent conditions that must be taken care of. Body, breath, feeling, tone, and the mind. So these 4 things must be taken care of in order to have an effective meditation method, in order for the method to do its job, to be efficacious.
Maybe that's worth clarifying as well, what you mean by the method, because I think what you're saying is the relaxation prepares us for the method, but what is the method?
The method could be meditation on the breath, whatever method that people use. Commonly, people work on the breath. Either they count it or they just be aware of it. In the Chan Zen tradition, we have different methods like silent illumination. It's a kind of simultaneous practice of calming and insight. Silent illumination. We also have something called huatou. The Japanese say it as koan, meditating on a phrase, a kind of paradox. So it doesn't matter what method. The foundation must be solid. So it's just a very practical thing to do. If a person is tense, there are particular chemicals that's flowing through the body throughout the day. Right? Do we want to carry that into meditation? Is that even effective? Or do we want to take care of business?
Okay, that makes sense to me, but how do we progressively relax if we have pain, either acute or chronic?
Yeah, that's difficult. Sometimes when we have old injuries, the bones have healed, the tendons have healed, the muscle, except there's an energy block there. There's an energy block. So we have to do massage, self-massage. In our tradition, we do stretchings and self-massage before and after sitting. During the sitting, we relax the body. So it's like this whole package of stretching before. During the sitting, we prime the body to relax. After the sitting, we do self-massage. This package will take care of old injuries and that causes discomfort. And you would minimize pain. So if you kind of triangulate pain with these 3 approaches, pain will be reduced. And your threshold for tolerance of pain will actually increase.
Mm.
The problem is, if we have pain, this is speaking from experience, all meditators know this. If we have physical discomfort, legs, and then we're thinking about it, that actually makes the pain worse. Because you're not dealing with the mechanism of stress, right? So the amygdala is sensing threat. Hey, threat. My leg's going to fall off. Oh my gosh, And then it's contacting hippocampus, telling the pituitary gland, send out cortisol now. That's it. Got to be fight or flight. So you got to kind of short circuit that, right? How? Relax the body. Relax the body. And then isolate the pain, because anyone who's experiencing pain, their whole body's burning up. Actually, if we isolate, it's just one knee, one ankle, and among 3-4 places, you have 3-4 places, actually just isolate, reduce to 1, because the other places are tolerable. It's just maybe one left ankle. So once you isolate that, don't use words and language. Don't say pain. You can say interesting or something like that, right? So short circuit this process, this perceptual process. Relax, ground, isolate. It's just one area. Interesting. And then watch it change. Watch it change. Pain is just a word. It doesn't actually refer to any particular experience, really, because the range of experience that people can actually have, so many. Sometimes it's numb, sometimes it's staggering, sometimes it's like a knife, sometimes it's just dullness, sometimes it's heat. It's all kinds of stuff, right? So pain is made up of non-pain.
Yes.
Right? So don't use words, just embodied experiencing with that interest. Then the stress hormones will not settle down. And the pain tolerance will increase. And by the time, maybe people have 20 minutes into the sitting, 25 minutes into the sitting, they have physical discomfort. Just 5 minutes more, pain's over. And that's not the end of it. When the bell rings, the period is over, I want you to experience, change of posture. We do massage, right? Experience the pain go away less than 60 seconds. Guaranteed. For ordinary leg pain, okay? And you do massage. Make the hands warm. I don't know if we want to go into that, but massage the body and the pain will be away. What do we do? Familiarize, watch it, observe, and allow it to sink in the illusory nature. Don't talk to ourselves. Don't label, just personal experience. And if you do that for several times, next time you experience pain, the neuroplasticity, your brain will have developed personal experience realizing the illusory nature of pain. Next time the physical pain happens, it's not so much a big deal anymore. That's for pain that naturally arises from just being in this posture. Right? We're not used to it. What about chronic pain like sciatica? That's a tough one. These are like nerve pains. It's not like old injuries and, leg putting in a pretzel shape, sitting. It's actually some illness there. One will always need to adopt a posture that's comfortable. And emphasize relaxation and emphasize massage, not someone else massage. With our mind concentrated, creating heat and going over the physical part in the body that's actually painful. At the end of the sitting, will actually help some chronic pain. And if one can't sit, some people they don't like sitting. They're not sitters. That's fine. Buddhism, we have walking meditation. Yeah. Like you do yoga. People can do yoga too, but we're not just doing yoga. Dharma practitioners, we do yoga as embodied experiencing, cultivating concentration and clarity. So whatever movement that one does, it's fine. If one want to skip seated meditation or, the physical chronic issues that the body prevents one from sitting.
You know those moments when someone just takes care of something for you? That's what AT&T is doing with the AT&T Guarantee. Staying connected matters. That's why AT&T has connectivity you can depend on, or they will proactively make it right. That's the AT&T Guarantee. Because staying connected isn't optional, it's essential. And AT&T wants you to feel that somebody's got your back. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Just so I don't forget it, you have made references throughout this conversation to once we're relaxed, we can get in touch with the undercurrent feeling tones. What does that mean specifically?
Yeah. So in traditional Buddhist lingo, that refers to subtle thoughts, unformed, not fully formed conceptually thought, but remained as kind of continuation, trickling, continuation of very subtle thoughts. In modern language, it just means mood or attitude, right? So, for example, if we're in a happy mood, maybe we just came out of jacuzzi or whatever things that we've done happy. You're not actually thinking, hey, I'm pretty happy today. Like, it's not fully formed, but it's like these feelings, this attitude, the way we look at the sun, the way we look at the rain, the way we look at people. Now, if you're in a bad mood, you can look at the sun and rain and start to get annoyed, So what is it that's different? The sun is the same, maybe the rain is the same, and your body, the body is the same. And you're not thinking any particular thing. What's the difference? Feeling tone. It's undercurrent, affective, subtle thoughts that's actually shaping your experience. So meditators who have deep meditative states, they will be able to pick up these. But ordinary people, we can train ourselves to actually be more aware of these undercurrent feeling tones, because that is the head honcho that dictates our experience. These moods and attitudes.
Yeah, the Burmese master Sayadaw U Tejaniya often tells his students to get into the habit of asking themselves regularly in meditation and elsewhere, what's the attitude in the mind right now? And I find that really helpful because I notice, I'm wearing shit-colored goggles right now. Everything's going through, or I'm wearing rose-colored glasses, whatever. But it's very helpful to see, what the lens is, the prism that you're viewing reality through.
That's right. Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad I hear some other teachers talk about this. Yeah, that is the dictator that shapes, completely colors our experience. And we can train ourselves. The feeling tone for seated meditation, through that short period of guided sitting, we want to dial it in to something that it's not grasping and not rejecting. Grasping and rejecting is just the Chan Zen approach of saying, the three poisons, greed, aversion, ignorance, right? So that first two. So what is it like to be free from greed and aversion? We're not asleep. We should be wakeful. We can be wakeful, yet we don't engage in that. What is that like? What is that feeling tone like? Content. Traditional Theravadan lingo, equanimity.
Yeah.
Equanimity. Yeah. You see? So you're not propelled to kind of chase after this, nor are you trying to get rid of it, trying to fix my problem. Too much wandering thought, I'm trying to fix it. If we do that, wandering thought's going to be more. So we want to make sure the beginning of meditation is beautiful. It's conducive to practice, and train ourselves more and more, familiarize ourselves with not grasping, not rejecting, craving, aversion. That's very important. It's not active thinking. It's these tendencies, the kind of pulls that we feel or repulsion that we feel. So familiarizing ourselves with that, making sure that our meditation is not contaminated, hijacked by the three poisons. Now that people have learned how to properly prime their seated meditation, the next thing is daily life, how to carry this into daily life. So let's talk about the junctures, because the same principles apply there. Relax, ground, engage. That's basically what I was talking about. Priming, relax, feeling grounded, content, and then engage with the method. Anapanasati, meditation on breath, loving kindness, or in daily life, in these circumstances, your work, right? So your research, the task at hand, That is the method, Dan. That's the method. So if you are talking with someone, right, to really be present, the person's feeling heard, they're seeing, and they're feeling you're there with them. Relax. You're grounded. And you have no judgment. Grasping, rejecting, try to get rid of something, try to change the person. Right? No containers. And then engage. So you're just present, listening. Right? Not too many things here. You're not oblivious, of course. You're like right there. You understand English, but there's some other ingredient that's present. What is that? You're grounded. See, without awareness, the other person will feel that. From the Buddhist perspective, our mind is not just in this container. The Buddhists, as you know, talk about a tripartite understanding. Sixth sense faculty, sixth sense object, giving rise to sixth sensory cognitive moments, right? Consciousness. Basic Buddhism 101. That means our body and mind are socially constructed, interactive. It's not just in the shell. So when we are present, the other person feeling, our feeling tone actually impacts not just how we're perceiving things, the whole conversation. Relating this general principle of relaxing, grounding, engage. That's how we face the junctures of life. What kind of junctures? Contact, tension, psychologically, emotionally, circumstantially. Contact, sixth sense organs, sixth sense object, that contact, junctures of tension. Also, another big one, junctures of change, changing job, changing life. You thought you're going to get this, but you didn't. We planned this trip, but then something else happened. We can't go through again. We got to take another route. All of these things, junctures. And practice exists at the junctures of life. It's not just this corpse sitting here, breathing, right? So it's actually, that's what I was talking about before about playing tennis, right? You got to play with the wall first. What's that wall? See the meditation. In order to make it really useful, you got to play with a live person. And the better the person, actually, you get better. Right? So that person is circumstances of life. Different contexts. Scenes. Tension spot. And I was telling your assistant all these other things like recognition, life. Like, what's life? Practice exists at the junctures of life. What's life? Recognition. Someone else takes your credit. You're now recognized for something. Oh, those are big ones. Recognition. Gaining. Sense of gaining, losing. That juncture. Power. Authority. Who has it? How power circulates. How you can have your agency. All these things. And then status. Promotion. Your own this and that. And then influence. You see, these are just some of the things, kind of pointers. But if we just remember the principles, because there are too many junctures to remember, the principle, relax in daily life, ground, engage.
Well, so how do we bring those principles into our daily lives super practically? Go ahead.
Excellent. I call it 1 minute Chan. 1 minute. So we start with something innocuous, like first bite of lunch, same walkway that we do, escalator, elevator, same. curve that we walk. Or you can do it like every time you see your boss, every time you see your boss, or every time you see a particular coworker. And then in the evening, washing dishes or something. You stick to whatever 5 that you choose. And for 1 minute, you got to discipline yourself. Do this for 1 month to 3 months, and you'll see a change. Choose 5 things, 1 minute each. What do we do during those 1 minute? Say, same bite of lunch, the first bite of lunch. We unpack the sandwich or whatever. Relax. Actually feeling the bodily weight in your buttocks, your feet, soles of your feet. Grounding. And then very quickly tap into the feeling tool. It's all good. IAG. And then don't use thinking mind. Use the sense faculty of the body. Tasting. But we're going to train ourselves not to always filter everything through the sense faculty of the discursive thinking. So use other senses. Your eyes, your ears, body. In this case, the sandwich. Taste. Actually tasting the food and the chewing. 1 minute you can do it. Just the beginning. And then these 5 things, just the beginning, and then they will extend to other areas. It's not like, well, 1 minute's up. I gotta stop. Now I go back to blah, 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 thinking, right? So if you just do these 5 things, innocuous, start with something simple with yourself. And then after a month or a few months of that, you change 5 other things that you already do. Don't add on another burden to I gotta practice in daily life. Things you already do, particularly like triggers, like the people that you see, the voices that you hear, the news, for example, or the phone ringing. Right? Same thing. As soon as it rings, the phone ring, relax, ground. It's all good. And then, hello. Or the difficult people in your life. So you shift yourself, your body, feeling tone, your mind, and then you re-engage with that. And you do that for a month or a few months, and then you will really see a drastic difference. Just those 5 minutes, 1 minute each, 1 minute each. That's very concretely how to incorporate that.
Yeah, it's like it's how to infiltrate mindfulness into it's the camel's nose under the tent. Like you start with these 5 minutes, these 5 areas where you're going to bring 1 minute of mindfulness, and then you switch to another 5, and eventually, if you follow this far enough, you're just awake.
Yeah, most of the time, your mind is clear, and your body is grounded. Most of the daily life. Right? And then when tension comes, that becomes the anomaly. Usually we're so tense, that's like the norm, the default. So, meditators know that there's an intricate connection between body, breath, and mind. If your mind is a certain way, your body is definitely tense. And your breath is maybe faster. So if you bring yourself this 1 minute charm into your daily life, and that becomes the norm, then the tension, when it arises, you catch it earlier, because it's like a thorn suddenly stab, because most of the time you're grounded, relaxed, and engaged. So these other times become very sharp. And then you'll be able to notice and then very quickly relax. That becomes the default. So that when we relate to other people like that in our life, when we deal with, chaos around us, you become the source of stability. People will look to you, and you can impact those around you instead of being impacted.
How to be the calmest person in the room.
Junctures daily life. What I did is just provided a list, but you can come up with your own list. The list that I have is whenever you're about to contact with someone, see something, you're about to be in a situation where you need to pay attention, sensory contact, and then tension. Whatever circumstances, you know preemptively that I'm going to be tense, right? So you make sure to have that 10% happier thing. So you go into it preemptively, priming yourself, right? So tension, circumstances. Third, transitions, junctures of transition, right? Sometimes it's unanticipated. Suddenly, things don't work out. Great. Train yourself. That's a juncture, right? And then all the other things of life, recognition, gaining, power, status, influence. Those are like more difficult. Those are more like great tennis players. Like you got to start with something simple, like just your own lunch or the same escalator ride that you do, right? And then slowly move on.
Let me ask you the two questions I ask at the end of every interview. The first is there something you were hoping we would get to that we haven't touched on yet?
What's the other question?
The other question is, can you... You're the first person to do that, but I like it. The second question is, just please remind us of the name of your books and your website and anywhere we can go to get more GuoGu.
Okay. All right, let me choose the first one then. The first one, at these junctures, it's really opportunity, because where we get caught up shows exactly where we are, how we have been reared, conditioned. That's where our habit tendency, is operating. So it's actually really good. It's really good. Things may not work out, and you may have a lot of vexations. In the long run, it's very good. For people that don't practice, what's so good about it? But for practitioners, it's very good, because that's the exposing. Once you turn on the light, then you can actually understand, embrace it, learn to, and then you can work with it, and then you can be kind of move on, let go of it. So just remember, at the juncture, it's all good. IAG, it's all good. It's opportunity. And in our day and age, very important. I mean, to circle back to your thing about language, very, very important to see obstacles as opportunities, to see where we get hung up as potential possibilities for the better. That will help ourselves and help the circumstance with other people. Ourselves meaning your body is listening to you. The words that you use is listening to you. If you keep on saying, this is a problem, I hate this, I hate that, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed, why is this happening to me? Not good. Not good. On a cellular level, every part of your fiber of your being is like stress, stress, stress. Get ready for fight or flight. So you have to train yourself, cultivate what we're talking about. Like, first thing that I do, it's all good. It's all good. Right? Now, I may have to force myself to like a forced smile. It's all good. But even saying that that reminds me, it's all good. Then there's possibilities. Then there's possibility for openings, for things to be more porous, not so rigidly, defined. Not that socially, politically, circumstantially, things are objectively out there good. I'm talking about an attitude, the feeling tone that we cultivate. It's all good. Now we have to make it. How to make it good? Then resources are open. We start to find ways to resolve problems. If we just say this and difficult and obstructions and all that, very bad for ourselves and for others and circumstances. You will be able to see possibilities of what needs to be done, what can be done. The doors are open.
I'm so glad I asked you that question because, I really like the point you're reemphasizing there. This isn't toxic positivity. It's a cognitive and experiential reframe. It's all good, meaning not that whatever war zone images we're seeing on our feed or that it's good. It's that, okay, well, no, this is an opportunity for me to practice.
Yeah.
And my body is listening to how I'm taking in these various junctures of life, how I'm relating to them. And so I can cognitively and somatically, experientially reframe all of this as an opportunity to practice the skills.
Excellent. Another star.
I appreciate that. But I don't want to let you off the hook. Can you please remind everybody of your books and, where we can learn more about and from you?
Books wise, I have a book called Essence of Chan and Passing Through the Gateless Barrier. Want to get into that? Gateless Barrier. And third one, Silent Illumination, Natural Awakening. That's my Dharma books. I have other academic books that's not related to practice. As for articles, you can just go to some of the big journals, Tricycle, Buddha Dharma magazine, Lion's Roar.
Such a pleasure to meet you. I suspect if you're willing that we will be asking you to come back to do this more. Maybe we could talk about silent illumination or passing through the gateless barrier or both. But yeah, I'm so glad that you're in our little orbit now. It might not be great for you, but it'll be great for me and our listeners. So thank you.
That's good enough. Thank you.